One of my favorite intro songs. I love this one. How can you be in a bad mood when you listen to that? It's like every time I fix it, I'm like, yes. It gets me jamming, man. Okay, so this week we're going to be talking about a couple things. First of all, cash buyers back again. You know, and it's not like, I don't know if it's a good thing or not. We did a poll, and we're going to be going back to that poll. Eddie, remember that. Go back to that poll to find out if being a cash buyer is necessarily a good thing or bad thing, and what your opinion is about that. Second thing we're going to be talking about is, Louisiana is in the same boat as California and Florida now. And I think we're going to get in a little deeper about this, about the insurance rates. Insurance rates, not, like many places around Florida, a lot of insurance companies have pulled out. Then it was announced that California has had many insurance companies out, and here in Louisiana. And it happened to Eddie and I on one of our rental properties. So we're going to talk about the insurance rates. I have my brain kind of thinking, and once we get into it, I want to get your opinion about this too, because if insurance rates are so high that people are willing to move, could that help with at least allowing for more homes to be on the market? But the problem is like how many people can afford that insurance rate. So does that even open the door for more institutional investors to buy up housing, because the average person can't purchase it? You know, that's how my brain's thinking. We'll get into that more. We're supposed to have Jason Walter here. He's on his way. Let me check, because he's supposed to, he's having technical issues, but he's going to be coming on here. If you don't know who Jason Walter is, he is the go-to guy for all the news that comes out in the real estate market. I mean, he is pumping out some content. So anytime something exciting happens in the news, when it comes to the real estate world, you go over to Jason to see what he has to say and what the articles are saying. So I want to welcome everybody for coming in. I have some interesting news for you too, while we wait for Jason to come up here. I was invited. Actually, I was supposed to be on Friday, but they had breaking news because somebody got in trouble with some papers and documents. So they scooted me off to the side. But News Nation is going to be having me on their live stream to talk about affordable housing options and get my opinion about them. So I'm very excited about that. It was supposed to be on at 2:45 on Friday. So I'm assuming that tomorrow will be the same time. I haven't gotten the specifics on what the time is tomorrow, but I will be on like real television. Like, they really want to see me. Can you believe that? I can't believe that. Oh, look who's made it. Yay, Jason Walter. Yay! Everybody give him a round of applause. We're in the presence of a celebrity.
No way. I am so sorry.
That's okay. I got nervous though. I get nervous because, you know, I asked Jason to come on here all the time. And he has a very busy schedule, and he has don't you have like a new baby too?
We have a 1-year-old and almost a 3-year-old. And so, we just came back from a 4-year-old party's rager. So, and then I forgot my AirPods. Anyways, hope you can hear me okay. Is the audio okay?
Yeah, you sound delicious. You sound just fine.
It's so good to see you. I'm sorry for being late, and thank you so much for having me onto your channel, Kristina. It's good to see you.
They say it's fashionable to be late, so
I hate being late, man.
I have ADHD, and that is the one thing that I'm opposite of, is the fact that I can't stomach being late more than anything. But
yeah, I hear you. Trying to put babies to bed right before.
Yeah, apparently Jeremy Knight was just on your channel.
He was. I had him on my channel a couple weeks ago, maybe a week ago, talking about the Austin housing market.
Well, how about that? See, we got all the celebrities in here. Hey,
Debbie.
Okay, so two things. One, you're in California, right?
I'm in Sacramento, California.
Yep. So we're going to be talking about the insurance problem that's going on in California.
Yeah.
And then we're going to be talking about the cash buyers, because I want to get your perspective of what's going on in California and if you're seeing the same thing. So I did send you that. I didn't send you the insurance article, but you'll get the idea.
It's okay. I like to
So
be unprepared, and I didn't look at the article, so I thought it'd be fun just kind of like, jump right in. So happy to discuss anything about the housing market. Says to me, this is fun stuff. I like talking about the housing market,
obviously,
as you know.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I
yeah.
said. If anybody needs to know what's going on right at the moment, go to Jason's channel. He's a newscaster.
Oh
He's got the
man.
news of the housing market down. All right, so let's get into the first article, which is about cash buyers. Cash buyers are back again, and not everybody's happy about it. Eddie's gonna pull it up on the screen as soon as he can, if you can find the tab.
I don't know who would be happy to see more cash buyers. I don't know anyone who would be happy about that.
Yep. Look, all cash buyers are becoming disruptive to the housing market like they weren't ever before, apparently.
Yeah.
All right, let's scroll on down, my friend Eduardo. I would greatly appreciate it. During the pandemic housing boom, home buyers begrudgingly accepted that they'd face lots of competition, especially from woeing sellers with suitcases of cash. Many facets of the housing market have changed since then. As for cash buyers who paid in full without taking out a mortgage, the power has only increased. Bum, bum,
Dun, dun,
bum.
dun, dun.
In April, cash buyers commanded the biggest share of shrinking home sales market in nearly a decade. As the spring selling season is underway, people who needed financing were often foiled by rising interest rates. Redfin reported last week cash buyers represented 33.4% cash buyers of transactions in April, far above hovering the 25% for more than the peak of the last decade. The data is the latest sign that cash buyers are clashing with borrowers more than ever. The problem has gotten worse because the drop of available homes is exceeding the slowdown in demand, according to Redfin. On Thursday, Redfin reported that 25% of the drop in new listings has pushed down the total number of homes on the market by 5%. That's a lot over a year. The lowest levels for early June since it began collecting data in 2015.
Yep.
So if you take those two recipes, which is all cash buyers that are pretty much inching into dominating the housing market, home prices that haven't come down and interest rates that have come up, and we don't have a supply of homes. What do you think is going to happen with the housing market, in your expert opinion, Jason?
Man, if I was, I always tell people I am not a real estate market fortune teller, but
do you don't have a crystal ball?
I do not. If I should get one and like purposely crack it and like tape it together with duct tape.
That one here. So I'm like, let me pull up my crystal ball prediction.
Yeah. So my take is that if we were to see 7% rates for the rest of the year, and also historically low inventory. I always say historically because we have more houses for sale, depending on the source. But if you look at Black Knight, Realtor.com, as well as AltosResearch.com, we have around like 20 to 30% more homes for sale nationwide compared to last year, as well as the year before. But when looking at levels back at the same time frame in 2019, we have around like 50 to 55% fewer homes for sale. I just made a video about Black Knight's latest report from 2005-ish to around 2011. We had around 2 to 2.5 million homes for sale. Now we have less than 700,000 in the US. So anyways, long story short, if we still see this historically low inventory, if rates still remain elevated, I would imagine that the number of home sales are going to go down like they do every single year, but probably more pronounced this year than in years past. And then hard to say what's going to happen with the prices, but the rest of the year, during a normal year, you'd see a decrease in prices, but not probably like we saw last year, because last year we started the year at 3.3% rates. It skyrocketed to over 7% by the time we hit October, and that just caused a shock of the housing market, and people got priced out. But now we have high rates, but they're not like skyrocketing. They're just kind of like staying like high. So anyways, I think that the market's going to go down
now, aren't they?
Pardon me?
They're over 7 right now, aren't they?
It was like 6.9 according to the Mortgage News Daily on Friday. I mean, like, around 7%, right? Depending on the source you look at. That's for people with great credit, of course, too, right? So anyways, if everything stays status quo, I imagine we're going to see like a normal downturn like we do each and every year in the second half, but we're not going to see like a housing market crash because we have a lack of house for sale. That's my long-winded answer for you, Kristina.
The long-winded answer, but the one of the things I want to like point out is that the supply is so bad. The supply, and every time you see a headline, and this is why people are like, "Oh, we have a 25% more inventory than we did a year ago." I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. Look at those numbers in comparison to 2019, and we're nowhere near it. We don't have enough houses. We don't have enough houses, and forget it. And that's the other thing too. We just don't have enough affordable homes for sale. Those like they just aren't building those smaller homes for the first time home buyer. So that's who I'm always like very concerned about, because that's the most of the pent up demand is first time home buyers. So if they're not building smaller homes that they can afford, what's going to happen? Like I think they're purposely, and this is my tinfoil hat moment, I think they're purposely turning them into renters. I think that's what they're wanting to do. Oh, here it is. I got to find my tinfoil hat.
Yeah, it's a big challenge to say the least.
Keep the prices for building homes extremely high. Give them a bunch of red tape for development of homes, and that in turn makes homes more expensive. People can't afford them, then they turn into renters. They have no choice. So that's what I say. The powers that be that sit behind the table, and smoking their big cigars. I think that was the big design. So that's my tinfoil hat moment.
I know it's sad. I mean, we need a more affordable housing to say the least. There's some people have been priced out when they have rates at 3% for 2 years. Now it's at 7%, around that. And prices have gone up so much, so up like 38% compared to 2020. So yeah, it's a sad state of affairs for someone who is looking to buy a house, especially the past couple of years.
Yeah, and then the other headlines are like, oh, look at these housing markets have dropped X amount. I'm like, that's like all on the West Coast. It's a very small portion of the United States. The rest of the United States are still facing very high home prices, and like some areas they're still doing this bidding war thing. Do you have bidding wars in your area at all? Like, does that happen, or is it only for the shorter, the like less expensive homes?
Yeah, so I looked at all of our pending home sales. I'm in Sacramento, so I looked at Sacramento County, which is a area you have to drive like a half an hour west east and like maybe about 45 minutes north south. So it's a big area, 1 million people. And look at all the pending home sales from, I did this like a month ago. And on average, all price ranges, 2 offers received per property. Some had like, 68, over 20, over 15, which is crazy, but they just underpriced them. So we have like a competitive market, but that's just because we have this very low supply. And it's not nearly as crazy it was this time last year because, the spring months last year in Sacramento, we had about 6 offers per property. Now it's 2 approximately. So we have bidding wars, but not nearly as crazy as the past several years.
Right. Going back to, go ahead. Go ahead.
What about your area?
Well, we're in a small town, so we're at least seeing a little bit more homes that are a little bit more affordable available. But you got to remember, you got to put a lot of like blood, sweat, and tears to make them up to snuff. The other problem that we have here in South Louisiana is that you could find a home that you would say, "Oh my gosh, this is affordable," but then when you get the rate for the flood insurance, it's so high that people that would be in that like, oh wow, this is a perfect house, it's wonderful, except for the insurance is like $8,000 a year, and when you're on that first time home,
$8,000 a year.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And some of the like some areas we're in a flood zone. We flood quite a bit, and so at some point, a matter of fact, the flood insurance will say to a house that's flooded X amount of times, you can no longer rebuild. You just got to, like, we're not rebuilding it. You're going to have to take the check and go somewhere else. They'll do that. But that's my biggest concern. But have you ever seen these products that were coming out during the big housing boom that because they were getting beat out by cash buyers. Like everybody that had a loan were getting beat out by cash buyers. So this company had started in Seattle, and I believe there was one in California that would basically run them through this whole underwriting process and say, go ahead and make your offer cash. We'll do it cash, and then after it closes, we'll close it again, almost like a new construction loan. We'll close it again under our umbrella of
Interesting.
yeah. Have you seen anything like that?
I have not seen that. No, I have not seen it at all. I think like last year, just talking about like competitiveness of the market, all cash buyers were getting beat out by people who still had loans, but they are waiving all their contingencies, which is just wild, especially for the inspections, because in my area, it's not super common to give all the disclosures and have the seller do the inspections prior to listing the homes for sale. So people are writing basically these blind offers, I've seen it for like $1 million to like $1.2 million houses. It's just crazy where you get no disclosures, no information about the property other than like, verbal questions if you want to ask the listing agent. And then also no actual third-party inspections whatsoever, which is way different than the Bay Area, where the seller gets all the inspection reports and disclosures ahead of time and gives that to the buyer so they can make a more informed decision about what kind of offer they want to write. And then in that area, it's common for people to write no non-contingent offers, but it's crazy. Like I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but just mayhem 1 year ago.
So when you go and list a house in your area, you don't have to have the property disclosure that's filled out by the seller before you even list the house?
No, you don't. It's in the California. Yeah, it's different. So we have the California Association of Realtors. They have the standard forms everyone uses for 1 to 4 units. And in that, the buyer can change it. But in general, the seller has to provide all those disclosures within 7 days of accepting the offer. That's pretty common. Now, having said that, there's some properties in which they provide a link and you can get that before writing an offer, but that's becoming more common. I'm seeing that, but not as common. So, yeah, I mean,
here in Louisiana, before you even put it up on
offers. Pardon me?
Here in Louisiana, before you even put it on the market, the property disclosure has to be in the listing. It's like,
I think that's really smart. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't even it won't allow you to put it, you can't hit the live button until that's attached.
Okay. Yeah, just like a couple of years ago, I would say it's been a little bit more common to see those like a link, and then people can look at all those disclosures. But 2 years before that, it's like you write an offer. I always ask the question: are you aware of any major issues with the house or the property? And so then I can tell that to my clients. But then we're not giving any disclosures whatsoever. It's not a requirement, so it's kind of backwards in my opinion. I think I like your way better, where people want to know like what issues are with the property, what kind of history does the house have? Did it have like foundation issues or like insurance claim 5 years ago, whatever it was, and then also provide the inspection reports as well, because that just creates issues down the road. If they see something on the disclosures they're not comfortable with, they get all their inspections done and find tons of dry rot and termites or whatever, then a lot of time buyers just would back out if the seller's not willing to negotiate. So yeah, it creates issues.
Yeah, in Louisiana, the first thing they do is they flip through the page to find out if it flooded before. I told you.
Okay.
Right. Mary has a question. It says, I own a parcel overlooking the marsh in Charlotte, North Carolina. I want to build a Quonset hut.
Quonset?
Yeah. I've never heard this. Quonset home. Nonetheless, I keep getting lowball offers, letters from wholesalers, predators. What's your take? I've never heard of that specific style of home. And this happens in any kind of alternative housing sector. It's just not overlooked like traditional home building. So whenever you're doing like prefabs or, any kind of like specific modular home company, sometimes they give you a price and it is low to get you in the door. So that way you'll end up adding all this other stuff on there. Matter of fact, I just did a video on Wednesday. I put it out and it was a Home Depot house and it looks fantastic. But then you find out it's just the frame of the house. They advertise it as this house where it has the spiral staircase and this upper level with a deck and the whole 9 yards. Oh, this kind of house.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, those are neat. You know what? Those are really good for hurricanes too, because the wind goes over them. We
Huh.
have them here in Louisiana. That's a real that's an actual style of home. Um, I wouldn't even know how to find that specific type of builder. The only thing I could think of to tell you to do if you're looking for a builder for that is to go on to Facebook and find a group that's talking about those specific types of homes. And sure enough, they're going to have a network of people that either fixes them or builds them. That would be my best suggestion. That is just not a very common way to build homes. But whenever you're dealing with any company outside that you're putting it in your backyard or whatever, just always do your due diligence triple fold. And like I said, get into that group and say, hey, has anybody heard of this company? Is it legitimate? You know? Yeah,
She
because
also mentioned she wanted to sell too, because I think that it sounded like she wanted to sell her property and then maybe build somewhere else, maybe. So if that's the case, I would say you get the most eyeballs when you list it with an agent who puts it on the multiple listing service. So rather than trying to sell it off market to an investor or wholesaler, you might get a better offer potentially.
The wholesalers are the bane of my existence. They never really do anything good for the buyer. Oh, where'd he go? Did he?
Oh,
You had to get your cup.
I have a
Okay.
cold, like, because I've been trying to like fight this thing. I don't want to like be coughing in my microphone and scaring everyone away.
Mary has another question. It says, I finished the garage on the house and bought in 2014. It had 3 bedrooms, including two tiny bedrooms. I knocked out the wall, expanding the bedroom, but finished the garage. Wasn't counted in the appraisal. I know that. Okay, so every area is going to have a different rule when it comes to appraisals when you add anything on. So here in the state of Louisiana, it has to be under the specific roof. If you have a detached garage, that's considered a different dwelling. But if it's connected and is sharing the same AC system as the rest of the house and the same plumbing system, then it's considered part of the square footage. Our bonus room here in the state of Louisiana is not considered the same value. It's like nearly a half the value as it would be for the rest of the house, the living square footage, because they're considering it bonus area, not living square footage. So you're just going to have to get with an appraiser to see why that square footage wasn't valued the same as the rest of the home. Is that true in your area, Jason?
Yeah, I was. It depends. Like, what I do is like if there's like an addition, like in converted garage or something, in which the owner did not pull permits for, so therefore like the tax assessor office isn't aware of it. I don't
Correct.
really count that as like, you can't just like take the price per square foot and then multiply the square footage of the garage and say, here's how much the house is worth. And so
Mm-hmm.
there might be a value add on that, but not the same if it's just part of the house that's actually permitted. And I actually just ran this issue with a client because there was this house that was listed for sale for, it's crazy amount, but the square footage was 2,960 square feet. But in my area, if there's not an asterisk next to the square footage, year built, number of bedrooms and bathrooms, then the seller's agent, the listing agent, manually adjusted it. And so when you don't see that asterisk, but you can't see on Redfin or whatever, but I can see it on my end, then you go to the source. And for this house, the source was a graphic designer. That's what that's where they got the square footage from. And so just beyond ridiculous. And the agent that was working with my clients here didn't even catch that. So long story short, if you're looking to buy a house that has additions that's not permitted, in my opinion, you should go to only counting the square footage is actually permitted.
I have another question for you. So in California, when you list a property, you're not required to measure the property yourself?
No, you're not. That's why it was such a joke. It's the first time I've seen, because it's you basically enter in the street address, the parcel number, whatever, and then it just pulls the tax record. So it pulls the location, number of bedrooms and bathrooms, year it's built, the square footage of the lot, as well as the square footage of the home, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if the seller goes, oh, like my square footage, like house is really 3,000 square feet. It's not, 2,400 like the tax records show. Can we adjust that? Yeah, sure, no problem. So then you just go to those manual adjustment and then you adjust it, but you have to list your source. In this case, it was literally a graphic designer was the source of the square footage of the home for $1 million house. Is freaking beyond ridiculous.
We are required to measure the house. You can't just list the
Wow.
house and go back to what a lot of agents were doing was whatever it was listed at the last time, they just kind of cloned the listing and then put that as the new square footage. But builders do this thing where they just like, this is the sunset plan. So they just put the sunset plan in every, listing, but
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't measure out the same. Sometimes, the square footage is off.
Yeah.
So somebody got in trouble
Same.
for that. From here on out, we have to measure it. So I have a laser measurer that I go in the
Oh,
houses and
wow.
like you just set it down and it points to the wall and points to the back and measures the room and then I have to show it. I have to actually show the little map that I made of the house when I measured it and how I
Wow.
came up with that
Who
cost.
would have
Yeah,
thought? You have way more disclosures in Louisiana than California,
I
right?
know. That is
Yeah.
killing me.
Yeah,
That's
that's
really
wild.
funny. Yeah.
I've never measured a helmet in my entire life.
I have to every single time. I have one for the outside too. So there's like a tape measure that hooks onto the side of the wall, and then I measure the wall all the way around too.
Wow.
Yep.
I think it's a good thing because that could like with this issue I was talking about with the square footage, I was telling the people who are looking to buy the house and they had no idea. And if you're not a
Mm-hmm.
real estate agent, there's no way you're really going to see because on all the websites, Realtor.com, Redfin, whatever, they're not going to show like what the tax records show. They're going to show what the listing says. And so someone could write an offer in there and have no idea if they didn't read the disclosures or didn't have an agent who was detail oriented. It's just, yeah,
The
creates a
only way
big,
you
big
can get
issue.
around that, if you don't want to measure the house, is if you ask the sellers if they have their previous appraisal done on their home, and it will have that map in there that's done by
Uh,
an appraiser, and then you can put in the MLS. Here's the map, and it was done by an appraisal company. Then you get
nice.
around it. I always love when they
Yeah.
have that. I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
I don't
I
have to
can see
sweat.
why. Yeah. I can see why.
Uh, Lexical Gap says, question, my friends are getting married, congratulations, and are trying to find their first home. The problem they're running into is that anything below 300 is not in great shape, not just cosmetic. Any advice for them? Do you have any advice for them, Jason Walter?
Is not in great shape. I mean, I've
Yeah.
bought the only two houses I bought were not in great shape, but I wanted to remodel them and make them our own. So it just
Mhm.
depends on what their goals are. If like they're handy or if they have funds to do a remodel and they want to make it to their own, then hey, go for it. But just make sure you get your own inspections. I was trying to say, because a home not in great shape probably has issues that are beyond just cosmetic potentially. What do you
Well,
think?
I would if they find a house they like, I would make sure the roof is good, the AC is good, the plumbing's good, and the hot water heater's good. If all of those things are good, the rest of it is just things they can work on over time. The first house my husband and I ever moved into, it smelled like cigarettes. It was horrible. It hadn't been painted in years. The roof was kind of bad. We had to replace that, but that it was worth it to us because we were the ugliest, most disgusting house in the entire neighborhood. We happened to be the smallest too. And then we got to it was like a shiny new penny when we fixed it all up,
That's awesome.
That's what you want to do. Like you really do want to buy the most ugly house in the
Totally
neighborhood.
agree.
Yeah. And then that will pay off. That blood, sweat, equity will pay off. You're paying less to put time into it, but you just start with one room at a time. We started with just the master bedroom. That's all we did was the master bedroom, and then we moved into the kitchen, and then we did every room after that. Just it takes time, but I that's what I would do. Just find a deal and make sure those major construction issues like make sure that foundation is in good shape. The rest
No,
of
I
it's
totally agree. The big expensive items, just like you said, foundation, HVAC, and roof are major.
Eddie's going to show the poll. Okay. Do you think all cash buyers are ruining the housing market? 27% said yes. 24% said no. And then only investor cash
Wow.
buyers, 33%, and 16% said they're not sure. That's out of 220 votes on the
Hmm.
live stream. So, yeah, well, I mean, what do you think about the cash investor buyers? Do you think they're the ones that are tipping the scales on some of these housing markets?
I would say in general, no. I mean, it probably depends on the area, right? Because that 3% could be higher in other areas. I
Mhm.
didn't look at this article before the live stream, so I apologize. But I know there's areas that are more affordable like the Midwest and the South, are still experiencing price gains in general versus the West Coast, where I live. You're seeing pretty big decreases compared to the peak of last year. So, and there's also a lot of people who can still work from home. And so that coupled with the fact that rates are around 7%, I would imagine that would entice more people to do an all cash offer versus take on a 7% rate if they can. And if they can do that by maybe moving to a more affordable area, maybe they're doing that. So I'm wondering in that report, I'll have to look at it at a different date here. But I'm wondering if that report is showing a higher percentage of cash sales in more affordable markets versus not. Because I would imagine that, cash buyers in San Francisco and more expensive areas probably hasn't changed very much. I would be shocked if it actually went up. So
Mhm.
that's my take, but I didn't read the article. What do you think?
Well, I was going to ask you, what is the first time home buyer price in your area? Like, what's the starting price of a home in your specific area?
Yeah, in Sacramento County, the median sold price is around $500,000.
Okay.
So the houses that sold or get listed for sale for under 500,000, that's where you see more offers. So when I did
Mhm.
that analysis, I think it was like, I want to say 4 offers on average for less than 500,000, but overall it was only 2. So houses, over $1 million were getting like 1, maybe 2 offers versus the more affordable range of less than 500,000, a much more competitive market.
Yeah, over 500 here is like a mansion.
What's your median sold price there?
Around 300,000 is the
Okay.
median.
Yeah.
Yeah, 300,000. But like, if you can find, like, when you start looking at houses under 300, I mean, we have nice houses, honestly. Even the, like, which you would say is like the cheapest house still has like crown molding and
Awesome.
um like nice cypress cabinetry, and people really do their houses up here. I mean, like, when we moved here, I was like, I felt like I won the lottery. I was like,
That's awesome. That's
holy
great. I love
cow, like, I couldn't believe real wood cabinetry. Wow.
it. That's great. I love
Unbelievable.
that.
Lammy has a question. Lammy has a question. Given potential long-term inventory issues, am I better off buying land and building on it later rather than waiting for a house in my price range to pop up in the market? What would your advice be for Lammy?
And I just did a big X. You didn't see it, Kristina.
I
So
did. I
and
thought.
this kind of goes back to like, are you? I assume you're probably not a builder or you're not married to a general contractor. So I just know from like my personal experience in Sacramento, which is obviously could be way different than what you're looking at, is that the prices for materials as well as the construction, hiring a general contractor are just absolutely insane. It's just
Yeah.
so expensive. And so land is still pretty expensive too. So buying land, getting it entitled or getting utilities hooked up, if you have to do that, and then building is just so expensive. I know that prices of lumber have gone down, but it's still super high, and also other delays and other things. Like we had to wait for like 6 months to get our cabinets, 5 months to get our appliances. Just totally ridiculous. Wow, $100. That's awesome. Anyways, I would say
Sonia
that
with the $100 super chat. Thank you so much. Lost track of
is
time last
amazing.
week watching the movie Where the Crawdads Sing. Nobody in Louisiana calls them crawdads. Go ahead and finish your thought there, Jason. I'm
Oh, I
sorry.
was just gonna say that like building a home can be super expensive. Varies by the area, but I would say if you're looking to buy land and then maybe build later, I would just rather just see you kind of continue to save money to save up for a down payment, and then find when you're ready, then you can buy a home if that's what you're looking to do, because construction costs are just absolutely insane. The delays associated with it.
And they fluctuate. So like, when
Yeah.
you could price out your house today, and then by the time you get like to the point where you're actually like pouring the concrete for the slab, lumber prices could either jump up or go down.
Yeah.
Copper wiring goes up and goes down. So your budget for planning out a house is all over the place. The only way it's controlled, and you may want to look into this if you're dead set on buying a piece of land, is if you go with a modular home company, because they've already bought those things in advance. They're already in their company. they're in their warehouse. So they already know, they can give you a more firm estimate of how much it's going to cost because most of the items are already in their facility already. So
Yeah.
I know you don't do a lot of modular, but Kristina does. Kristina likes it.
I know. Yeah.
Like the World Economic Forum states, you will own nothing, be happy. The Great Reset is fully underway. So yeah, I did a video a while back. Have you heard about this? The Great Reset. Have you heard about it?
I get this comment on my channel like often, like you'll own nothing and be happy. I'm like, if I had nothing, I don't know if I'd be happy, but I
So
know it's a
the
different thing.
synopsis of it is the powers that be are basically trying to own everything, and then we rent our lives from them. You rent a car with a lease, you rent a house from a rental agreement. Like basically everything you get in life you don't own it. It doesn't belong to you. It's never yours. It's always by the powers that be. That's what they say that the design with the World Economic Forum is trying to push people in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that the institutional investors really impacted the low level of inventory we have today from like the craziness we had with all the purchases back in 2012 and 13. I mean, in Sacramento, it was just like when I got my real estate license in February 2012, or was it 13? I can't remember. 13. But 2012, 13, there was this BlackRock, all these private equity firms buying houses. And I felt so sorry for all the first time home buyers because they're seeing a home that's, a average price home in Sacramento, but they're getting like 30 cash offers on the property. And like, how does a first time home buyer compete with that? And they just turn into a long-term rental, and you'll probably never see that home being listed for sale again, at least not for a very long time, because they just, it's an investment for them. So yeah, I think it's a sad state of affairs, and it'd be nice to see some limitations on these large purchases of single family houses.
I agree. I talk about it all the time that they should have some kind of limitation to how many investment homes could be sold in an area to investors. You can't turn a neighborhood, no more than like 15 to 20% of a neighborhood could be rental units, and they do that. You can put that in your HOA, and it's very possible. Even if it's an old HOA, you can revise it. So, and then you file that with the courthouse to do that.
Yeah, I see that in HOAs, like for condos, for example, but like in single family homes in just a regular neighborhood, you don't see that in general in my area.
What's this, Eddie? 10 best real estate markets in 2023. What are the best ones?
Come on, Louisiana. Come on.
No, it's not going to be Louisiana. Eddie's going to scroll down to who it is. Austin, Texas. The median price for a home is $620,000. That's not the median for the United States. Wow.
Yeah, I'm surprised by this. Is this a recent article? Because Austin, Texas is one of the areas that has been really a recent article. That's crazy. Because one of the things with Austin, Texas is that they are gaining like a giant surge of inventory, and they actually have more homes for sale as of the end of April compared to pre-pandemic. The average April 2017, 18, and 19, they have more houses for sale compared to pre-pandemic. The only city that Black Knight looked at that had more homes for sale. Anyways.
Yeah, so Tampa is 388,000 with 40 days on the market. Home value has increased 4% over the pre-pandemic levels. Raleigh, North Carolina, the median price is $389,000 with 50 days on the market. It's also at an increase of 4% since the pandemic. Nashville, Tennessee, $429,000. Nashville has gone up a lot.
Yeah, it really has. That's the thing with these areas that really were like pandemic boom towns. The price has gone up so much, and so some of the local people live there who don't have these remote jobs are getting priced out.
I had Will Friedner on here, and he is in Bozeman, Montana, and it like the people that work in the area, like your waiters, your bus boys, those kinds of things, they're like coming up with these tiny home solutions where they basically like pave a parking lot and they can rent out the little tiny homes so they can work in the resort areas. I'm like,
wow,
yeah. I mean, in Nashville with 429,000 for the median price home surprises me. 26 days on the market, and they're 7% over their pre-pandemic levels. I told you, refraud is out there saying dumb stuff. I know. I know who he's talking about. You all do too.
They're obviously like taking in consideration like job growth and a job market, which is Austin, Texas has a strong jobs market, obviously. But it's amazing to see how much prices have gone up there, and it's still number one.
Yeah, Nashville is currently named the second strongest job market, right behind Austin, Texas.
There you go.
Yeah, that's what always saves these housing markets from plummeting, you know. Charlotte, North Carolina, 385, 35 days on the market. It's 5% lower than the national average for rooms, outdoor lovers, a beautiful state. Glory. I love Charlotte. I love North Carolina. I like the weather. But job growth is up 45.2% increase over the next 10 years. So they're expecting more job growth. San Antonio, Texas is at 285. That's still affordable, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow, 285 is awesome. San Antonio is currently a buyer's market too. Yep.
Yeah, it's like $300. It's like $100,000 cheaper than the median U.S. national sold price.
Mm-hmm. Phoenix, Arizona, 459,000. You know, Phoenix is one of those areas, man.
Yeah.
459,000, 35 days on the market. Home value over the pandemic increased 30%. And, you know, they have a lot of home building there. Do you think it's going to come down quite a bit?
I worry about like the areas that have a lot of home building. And there's also an article that came out. There's looking to build, I don't know if it was outside Phoenix or somewhere in Arizona where they a builder wanted to build houses out there, but they said, hey, if you want to use groundwater, you can't build out here. So that has some more source of water. And so that's going to be a potential issue for some areas in Arizona.
Yeah, it says pay scale shows the cost of living in Phoenix is 5% below the national average, but your cost of owning a home is way high. Right. Jacksonville, Florida, the median price is $289. Wow. Hey, that's not bad either.
Yep. And only 5% increase.
Mm-hmm. Also has a strong job growth, and employment opportunities continue to steadily increase month over month. Atlanta, Georgia, 400,000, 41 days on the market. Atlanta's always growing. That's number 9. So they're still saying this. With Atlanta's cost of living just 1% lower than the national average, residents will have plenty of job opportunities in a variety of sectors. This is true. Orlando, Florida. I used to live there. Really? Here. Yeah, Orlando, right outside Orlando. With the cost of living 5% lower than the national average, this city continues to rank one of the best places to live in Florida. I will highly disagree. For first-hand experience, I will say no.
What's so bad? I mean, Disneyland's there. I mean, it should be a happy place to live.
It's not Disneyland. That's all. Like outside that little park is not Disneyland. I would not go back. Just no way. Nope. Kristina says no. I would move to the Panhandle though. I like the Panhandle of Florida, like around Pensacola and stuff. That's really nice. But
got it.
I lived there in a neighborhood that I didn't even know there were children in it. I didn't know my neighbors, never met them, lived there for 3 years, never met my neighbors. I'd see them out at the, getting their mail because the mailboxes are at the end. Never, not once did anybody say hi to me. We would wave and they would all just look down. I'm like, this place sucks. It sucks. Yeah. A question. How do you determine if a new construction development is priced well? Is it based off the neighborhoods alongside it? How do you determine that, Jason?
Holy cow, this is a really good question. It really is.
Yeah.
It's hard because you can look at comparable sales for the resale market pretty easily. I don't know. If it's priced well, I always go back to how many days has it been listed for sale, right? If it's if your average house sells in 30 days, but been listed for sale all year and they haven't reduced the price, and obviously they're asking for too much. What makes it really challenging though in the new home construction industry is that you could see on Zillow that this house sold, it's 2,000 square feet, same square footage as the house they have listed for sale. But Zillow doesn't tell you that they just gave the home buyer $50,000 worth in free upgrades and then a buy down to pay down their rate and also a closing cost credit. it just looks like a $500,000 home sale or whatever. So it's hard to compare apples to apples with new home construction versus existing houses. You don't see all these concessions that sellers give buyers. This doesn't really happen. So it's
We have to
hard to
disclose
compare.
that.
You what?
When we close out a listing, we have
Yep.
to fill that all out. Like, what were the concessions? Like, how much did they give in closing costs? Was there any points? We have to disclose all of that. So when a house closes, you know exactly what they got.
It is like we in our area too. Because like, there's like a small little line you can like. There's a very, very small field where you can put in. Oh, the seller gave $15,000 in closing cost credit. I'm just saying that a home seller can't offer the same incentives that a home builder can, right?
Right. But I mean, this is how I determine if it's like worth it for a brand new neighborhood. So I know this area very well. You know, I'm very, in tune to what neighborhoods are selling at what price point because, I've lived here, I understand the area. So when a new neighborhood comes in and they don't have that crown molding and they don't have the good cabinetry and they have like vinyl plank flooring instead of wood flooring and all that kind of stuff. And they're trying to sell it at the same price point as the neighborhood next door. That's a little 10 years older. I'm like, this is never going to sell. Like, why would I buy this, this little Cracker Jack, put up house when I can buy the one next door that's much better quality? They like some home builders have like high hopes because they're like, well, I could sell it for, let's just say $200 per square foot. But you don't have the same amenities as the houses next door that I'm sure they're 10 years older, but why would I move to your brand new neighborhood just to have a brand new house? Forget that. Your laminated cabinetry is not cutting it.
And the lot sizes can vary quite a bit too. I went to a new build in Folsom, California a couple of weeks ago and opened up the drawers of the kitchen and they're like just all flimsy cabinets and they don't have like the soft close. You're like, this is a $700,000 house. And I'm looking at everything. Like I always knock on like the kitchen sink and the doors and they sound hollow and thin. It's probably cheap materials.
Yeah, there's like all sorts of like the thing is we're so used to certain things that when an outside home builder comes in that's like a big box brand comes in and starts building their cheaper homes, people are like, I ain't buying that. And then they all of a sudden you'll see big price reduction and if you use our lender, we'll take 30%.
No, it's called a price adjustment.
Yeah, they do some adjusting because they realize that.
Yeah. I was reading this report the other day. It was CoreLogix talking about like their housing market predictions. And they're like, this is the first time I heard this. Home prices are going to relax in the second half this year.
Well, I mean, if you really think about it, though, like last year around Christmas time, they did relax, and people are like, "Oh, this is it! This is it! This is the big collapse! Watch, they're all gonna just tumbling down. We're all in a fiery mess." And then, sure enough, spring came around, and what happened? Home prices went up. Yeah. I mean, always during that fall season, right when school starts, we don't sell as many houses. It naturally happens that way. That's just the way the housing market is. We didn't have that for 2 years because it was not natural. Now, there is nothing about those 2 years. You got to remember, we live in unprecedented times, and they were more unprecedented during those few years than they are now. So we're heading back to normal. But I just hope that home prices, if they're not going to go down, at least remain flat for a while so people can catch up because incomes are not catching up to home prices. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I wish I had more houses for sale too, because it seems like the market's really competitive, and look at the stats, like home prices are going up, so it makes it seem like it's just a repeat of past few years, which is entirely not true because you get one home listed for sale in 2 weeks in the neighborhood, and there's like 10 families looking for a home in that neighborhood. Well, they're going to get multiple offers. It's not because like the market's going crazy; it's just the fact that we have such an anemic supply that is really make it feel like we have a competitive market when in actuality it's really not.
I love that, anemic supply. That's a good term. I like it. Good one, Jason. It says, question: when buying raw land, how can you figure out the restrictions? Like, can you have roosters or manufactured home? Okay, so whenever a property is listed, this is how it should be, is that there is a property disclosure, just like there would be for a house. But in a land property disclosure, it will tell you how much is in the timber rights, it will tell you how much the property you can use for wetland, like is considered wetlands. They'll give you the road frontage. They'll give you the plat map and any other information that you need. But if you are unsure and you're buying a piece of raw land, they're like, I don't know, my grandpa's grandpa had it, and I don't know anything about that piece of dirt. Go ahead and hire a surveyor. But when you do your contract, say, I need an inspection period of X amount of days until that surveyor is out there. And then when you find out, like maybe you can't use it for, roosters or anything else, then you can actually get out of the contract. Now you'll have to actually pay for that survey, and they can be expensive. And then in some cases you can get the seller to pay for that survey, because if you do back out of it, at least that's a piece of information that will help them sell that piece of land quicker. So sometimes you can split the cost, or you can have the sellers pay for it. It's all in the negotiation process. Another way you can look that up is you can go to the county courts, go to the county office and see if there's any filed restrictions on that piece of property. And they'll let you know if it's in it's considered residential. They'll tell you if it's multi-use. They'll tell you if you can have a manufactured home on it, any other restrictions you might have. If it's in the city limits, sometimes they'll say you can't have chickens. If you just like walk 3 steps over to the next lot over, that's no longer the city line. So now you can have chickens. So there's the ways you can investigate it. But if you have somebody that already has that piece of land listed on it, don't you do the legwork. That's what the real estate agent's there for. So call them up and say, hey, real estate agent, go ahead and find out the stuff about this piece of dirt you have listed, because that's part of their job.
Yeah.
That's part of their job.
Excellent advice. Do you guys have covenants, conditions, and restrictions in Louisiana?
Oh, yeah.
CC&R? Okay, yeah, because that can be one thing they could look at. I love your idea of getting a survey. That's expensive. We were going to do it for my house, but it was like $6,000. It's stupid.
They're not that expensive here. They're not that expensive. The survey here is not that expensive.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, getting a survey was really a good advice, and also contacting the county, but you also asked for the CC&Rs too, which is kind of like the neighborhood rules. They kind of talk about like if you can have roosters
right, but if you have rural track, there is no filed restrictions or CCR. So there's no covenants that have been filed because it's considered rural track, but they may still have restrictions, even though, in most cases, when you see rural track, you pretty much can do whatever you want. But if the owners filed restrictions with the courthouse, you need to be able to pull those out, because you'll see those at the title office and you'll have to sign off on them. And some of the restrictions are stupid. Like you can't have more than 3 mules on a Sunday in the front patch, or some nonsense like that. That doesn't count. But other things, you just got to look them up. You got to look them up.
You're the person for that question. That's for sure.
I have, if you haven't looked at, if you just type in Kristina Smallhorn and then type in land, I have a land video that has like literally almost everything you could possibly need, and some really great resources on, looking up information about land before you even get on and start looking at plots of land. You can get all that information ahead of time, so you have a good resource there. So sure. Philip has a question. He says, what's your opinion on ADU companies like Villa Homes and others? Is it worth the money? Can you build an ADU for less than these companies? Now, I know ADUs are really big in California. What do you have to say about this, my friend?
Super, like in my area, it's super expensive. Someone emailed me who's a subscriber of my channel, and I think it said he got quoted it was like $300 or $400 per square foot for an ADU. Like totally insane. Like you'd spend an arm and a leg to do it, and you're not going to get your money back if you sell your home. Everyone has like their own, if you need an ADU and you don't want to move, then you can take, sacrifices and stuff. But I would just say in general, super expensive if you want to hire a general contractor to do an ADU. But you'd probably be the person to talk about. Well, I'd love to hear your opinion about this as well, because you talked about other companies like that make them as well.
Okay, so I know that it's expensive in California. You might as well just build another house. What makes it expensive on top of it is the fact that they have a lot of requirements for the ADU. You are literally building a smaller house. That's it. Yeah. And so, like everything that you could possibly need for your traditional building of a home, that's the same as an ADU. Anywhere outside of California, an ADU is just a smaller home behind your home, and the cost is reduced quite a bit. They can be really great, especially if you're going to want to build some, equity in your home later on, as far as like renting them out. You just have to find what works out best for your specific area. You're going to have to find out how much a pole is, because you're going to have a new pole, because it's going to have separate electricity. Can you separate the plumbing? What other things you need to know? Like, are you going to be allowed to put that ADU in your backyard? You may not know, again, with the filed restrictions, you may not know that your older neighborhood, even though you live on an acre and a half, does not allow for a separate dwelling unit on your property. But some of them don't care. You might have to go to the planning and zoning in your area to see if this is going to be allowed. But yeah, normally you can find ADU companies in your area that do them at a price. Just make sure that it's not like a tiny home and they're built to some kind of building standards. Like, is this a certified built modular home? Is this a certified built, like, what is it built to? What is the standard that they're building this home to? Because most of the time they don't have any, there's no law or standards for tiny homes or ADUs. There's, like, if you build a manufactured home, there's HUD manufactured standards that it has to meet. With tiny homes and ADUs, there's nothing that's considered standard. So you really have to work closely with the people that are building those. Did you learn something new there, Jason?
I did. This is not my wheelhouse whatsoever. You're the expert in this for sure. I appreciate that.
Yep. Cy Coward 360 says, question, any advice as to things to look for when buying an old house, say built in 1900? Wow. Oh, plumbing, lead pipes,
electrical.
Plumbing and electrical would be the number one. And then you got to look at that foundation. So those would be the three things that I would look for the most. And like, when you're doing that foundation, make sure all the support beams are still together. Like, the structural beams that are holding that house together have not been cut at any time during that home. Like, have a good inspector look at all of those beams, the bracing for the house. So that would be my advice. What's yours?
Yeah, definitely. 1900, I think of like knob and tube, electrical, plumbing might be an issue, and foundation could be an issue. So yeah, make sure you're linked up with an agent that has a good inspection team. So if you get your offer accepted, and make sure you get a lot of inspections done, because you can uncover a lot of issues, of course. But a house built in 1900s obviously has lots of character too. So, but do your due diligence.
Another tip on that is that, of course, you're going to have your regular like home inspector that does an overall inspection. But if you're very concerned about like anything in the structure, I would hire a structural engineer to come over and take a look at that house. If you're really concerned about the foundation on that house, I would have a couple different companies come out and look at the foundation of the house and give it any kind of estimates, or if they feel like there's anything wrong with it. And then, of course, I would hire an electrician to go over there. If you're worried about the wiring, I would and the plumber to go over there to talk about the plumbing. And you'd be surprised sometimes when you hire those other people to come out to do the inspection, they'll say, oh, I know this house. I've been out here 7 times working on that lighting over there. Boy, they got some tricky lighting. I think they're haunted. You'd be surprised. So yeah. Hire separate inspectors if something comes up.
Yeah.
I've
had someone who bought a brand new home that we got a sewer inspection, and then they didn't even bother to hook up the sewer line to the county.
That's happened.
It's like you can have issues with a house that's say 123 years old, or a home that's brand new. So definitely get your inspections done.
Oh, I've had a new house that my parents bought a house in Atlanta that the roof line wasn't connected. Yeah, brand new. Wow. This kid right here. Oh,
I remember this kid.
Yeah,
this last time I was on your.
Yeah, this kid has a question.
Yeah.
if you don't know, if you're listening on the podcast, that's the screen name is this kid.
That's true.
Are there purchase loans available with repair funding? Are there purchase loans available with repair funding? Yeah, like what is it? What do they call it? A 203?
FHA, 203K.
Yeah, 203K.
Yeah.
We have that after a hurricane here. Those are a dime a dozen. Everybody gets those loans because what happens is the house gets in bad shape. The homeowners go ahead and get their check and they're like, we're not going to fix this. We're moving out. They sell their house at a discount. And then somebody comes in with their FHA 203K loan and fixes up the house and has a brand new house. So
I never had a buyer who used one of those before, but definitely talked to a loan officer who has experience with that because that could be something that you might be able to take advantage of.
Oh, somebody brought up something good here real quick.
Go ahead.
Toxic materials. Yeah, asbestos and lead paint.
Yeah.
That's part of it. Whenever you're buying those old houses, lead paint and asbestos.
That's true.
Yeah. Mary has a question. It says, should I sell or rent my lake property in South Carolina to pay for the development of my coastal New York property? What would you do for Mary? What would you say?
There's like so many things to talk about here, but do you need the funds do you need the equity out of your house in order to pay for the development of your property? If you don't need it, then that goes to, should I sell or should I rent? And I would look at, if you were to rent, you can go on to Zillow and look at, houses in the area that are for rent. So you can look at advertised rents, but you can't look at like what the rent they actually got, but look for properties that are close to your home. Go on to Zillow. You can search for homes for rent, get an idea about approximately how much you can rent your home for, compare that to your monthly housing payment. And if you're going to be, are you going to have a positive return, or are you going to be losing $500 a month? That would give you a little bit more of like some information about whether you should, rent it out or sell it. What do you say, Kristina?
Meet with your financial advisor. That's what I say. Meet with a financial advisor. Because there's no way that we know what your financial situation is. And I always tell people, I'm like, well, if you can hold on to a property, if you can hold on to that piece of real estate and not like dip into it, then hold on to it. So that later on down the road, that can be, part of your retirement nest egg. But I don't know your financial situation. The only way that you can do that is with an accountant to go over what your goals are. So that's what I always say.
That's excellent advice. I mean, you definitely should talk to a financial advisor for sure. Good advice, Kristina.
Thank you, Jason. My advice is better.
CYA.
Lawnmower, my commonologist on here, Lawnmower says, in Louisiana, crawdads have proper names, usually the names of cousins that you haven't seen in at least 5 years. Well, I will say that everybody knows everybody by their last name here in Louisiana, and nobody in Louisiana calls crawfish crawdads. You're from another state. If you said crawdads, I'd be like, what?
Oh, it's crawfish?
It's crawfish.
Oh, okay. We call them crawdads.
South Louisiana, they're crawfish. Yeah. South Louisiana. Blue 5-star says, there are 2 houses right next to each other in my neighborhood that look abandoned and breaking down, but they're owned by the same person and company. Is it difficult to buy one off of them? Sometimes they'll have them on the books. Like they don't even know that they have them because they have so many properties. You can always reach out to them, send them a letter, certified letters, just to see if they have it. Call the company and see if they're willing to sell them. Sometimes those companies are in some kind of bankruptcy and they're filing like bankruptcy at the same time as trying to do something with the property. So they sit there and they collect dust until a bank takes them over and does what they want with them. What do you have to say, Jason?
Yeah, if you can find out a way to who the owner is by looking at tax records, because it could be a company, it could be an individual. Maybe the address is different than the property address. You might be able to send a letter to the address per the tax records. So you can send a couple of different letters that way. That would be my advice.
Yeah, you go to the tax assessor's office and get that.
Yeah. There you go.
Mary has on fire. Man, Mary is on fire, man. Check her out. It says, question, I established several tiny homes in North Carolina parcels zoned multifamily. Could I get different addresses without subdividing my property if I plan to lease the tiny homes? That would depend on the law in North Carolina. I don't know. So in our area, we were able to get a separate address for the small home behind the house, but it's all the same parcel number. So we couldn't subdivide the property. It just was one property. But you're going to have to find that out. Like if you have established different electricity and different plumbing to each one of the houses, they may allow you to do that. But in some cases, they're not going to allow you to do that because they don't want you to subdivide a multi-use property. They want you to sell it as one plat itself. So just gonna have to check with your local officials. Get friendly with the planning and zoning. Bring them donuts. I promise you. Yeah. Eddie just ought to walk in there and smile with his pearly whites, and you like, oh, what can we do for you, sir? MH08 says in the Midwest we call them crayfish. Oh no, crayfish. No.
It's crawdads, right?
No, it's crawfish. Crawfish, not crawdads. Crawdads. Haha, boomers rambling about crawfish on Real Estate Channel. Yeah, yep. I'm not a boomer. You're not a boomer, are you? You're Gen X.
I might look like a boomer, but I'm not a boomer.
You're a millennial, aren't you?
No way. I'm 47.
Oh.
I'm old.
I thought you were.
This is not blonde hair here.
Yeah, I'm Gen X.
I don't even know what generation I am. I'm no idea.
You're Gen X.
Okay, all right.
You're the last of the Gen X. You're the last of them. Yeah. Gen X. We're not boomers. Our parents are the boomers.
True. That is true.
Yeah, my parents are the boomers. Lamar says, do tiny homes on wheels fall under the HUD requirements? Depends. So if you look at park model tiny homes, they actually fall under RV specifications. They're built to RV standards. Some tiny homes are built to HUD standards, and sometimes they're still called park models, but they have the HUD certification on them. So it depends. Now, if they're on wheels and they're traveling down the road, most likely they're built to RV specifications, if they're built to any specifications at all. If you happen to buy a tiny home that has not been built to at least RV specifications, you're not going to be able to park it in designated RV parking areas. Like if you wanted to go to Yellowstone or whatever, like you couldn't do that without having that certification that says that it's an RV. Just FYI. Good question, though.
So much by being on this channel. I really do.
Well,
anything about this stuff. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
You will rock it in real TV. Did you hear that? I don't know if you heard that.
I had so much technical difficulties. I think I missed the beginning of that. What you mentioned.
Yeah. So News Nation, which is like a cable news station that's like it's not right leaning or left leaning. They just kind of report the news. They reached out to me on Friday and asked if they could do an affordable housing segment and if I'd be interested on being on their live show that's on television. I was like,
oh wow, that's cool.
Yes, I was really excited. Awesome. I got all dressed up, all dolled up, got my makeup all perfect, got my hair all done, had it all sprayed, went and sat down. They're like, hey, yeah, we've had some breaking news. There was some indictment that we had to cover and everything. I was like, they're like, yeah, it's all over. We can't really do that. We'll get back to you on Monday. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that I'll be on the big time screen.
That'd be super cool. That'd be really awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
I know. I'm on real TV.
That's really cool.
I'll send you my autograph.
I had a kind of similar experience. I had Fox News in New York reach out to me and talk about when Redfin discussed the fact that prices decreased the first time compared to 1 year ago. And I did this interview, which is Zoom, which I didn't know the interview started yet. And then I reached out after them. They never responded. So it never got aired or anything. So I did this interview, but it never made it to the TVs or whatever. It's kind of fun.
Well, this is live.
It's live. Okay, that's
live. So I better not sneeze or pick my nose or do anything stupid. Hopefully I will not eat beans that day,
Question. Are you going to post in your community tab when that happens?
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad
Okay,
I didn't
cool.
post it. I'm glad I did not post it on that day because they ended up canceling on me, so I didn't look like I was a
That's so
liar.
cool. Let me know. I would love to see that.
Okay, it says, Miss Melanated says, question, I inherited some land. It's going to cost around 20 to 25,000 to prepare the land. I want to buy a manufactured home. Is there a way to get a mortgage? Yes, you can. So I would go and talk to a local lender in your area so you could roll in the land improvements and the manufactured home together. They would do some kind of like new construction loan that will allow you to do that, where you would have the well, the electrical pole that goes out there. You could put the driveway, everything that you would need, as long as it's within the parameters to what the value would be in the area once it's completed. They'll be able to assess that. Did you know that, Jason?
I did not know that either. No idea. This is outside of my wheelhouse. I'm outside my wheelhouse completely. So then, are you? Is that loan fixed, or do you have to refi once it's all done, or how's that all work?
It's like a new construction loan. It works just the
Okay.
same. It's similar to that. Like you have your new, like you have that construction period time. And then, how like once that closes, then you're going to have to roll it into a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, which
Got it.
actually
Got it.
works out better because I don't know if you know, if you do your manufactured home separate from your land loan, so then you have two mortgages, right? So some people like to do that because if they default on the house, all they can do is take the house, but they can't take the land from you. But most people want to have a nice low payment, because if you do it separate, the mortgage for a manufactured home is called a chattel loan, and it's a higher interest rate, and it's over for a shorter period of time. So just something to know.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Just schooling me, Jason.
I learned so much from you, Kristina.
Did you know that many people working in tech had 2 or 3 full jobs because they worked remotely? Maybe that explains why so many people have so much cash. Oh, there's so many reasons why people have cash. Before the pandemic, I was unaware of how many people were sitting on a pile of cash. And then you can ask anybody that lives in some of these markets that have exploded. Almost all of them are coming from California or northern states where real estate is a lot more expensive than the area that they're moving to. So if you lived in like around New York or New Jersey, and you're moving to Tennessee, and you see their $444,000 house that they're selling, that's like a mansion to them. Like if you go around Boston and New England and you see these little houses that were built in 1675 and you sold it, and then you move to this and you're like, I just got 2,000 square feet for the same price I sold my house in New England for. That we had a lot of that. There was a lot of redistribution of people that bought with cash. But everybody always loves to slam California. Like, nobody wants to move to California. It's a pit. And they're all moving away. They're going to Texas and ruining our state. That's what they always say.
For years now.
For years. Yep.
Yeah.
The Great Exodus. I heard about this in 2018, the Great California Exodus. Everybody's leaving California. But home prices still increase. Everybody's leaving, but home prices are still going up.
Yeah. I don't know how that works. Yeah.
I don't know.
We definitely have a lot of people migration out, but I mean, I see, like, I'm in Sacramento, which is like 500,000. The Bay Area is like average like $1 to $1.5 million, and people are renting their tiny little apartments and they're buying houses in Sacramento because it's so much cheaper. Especially a lot of millennials getting married, want to have kids and such, rather than living in a 1-bedroom apartment.
I think my daughter wants to get married, but she doesn't want to have children. I think that's what she said. The idea of getting married sounds good, but I don't know about that kid thing. It sounds very, very, very expensive. I'm like, you're not wrong.
Yeah, right. I had brown hair too a few years ago before I had kids too.
Yeah.
Having kids is great, but man, it's definitely challenging, right?
Yeah, my husband, every time every time I had a baby, he would get another eye bag. So he has 2 pieces of luggage under his eyes. It happened the instant the baby was born. I was like, "Ooh, you look tired," and that tiredness never went away. Poor
That's
guy.
funny.
He's still good looking though.
Yeah,
Bruce has a question. It says, looking to purchase some rural land, but there's a lot of BLM land in random places close to the land. Could that be a bad thing?
Bureau of Land Management, I think.
Oh,
Maybe.
well, I don't know. I can't answer that. I don't
So a
know
lot of
if
dealing
that
land
would be a
and random
problem or
things
not.
close to
So,
land. Okay.
so Eddie is going to pull it up. Oh, look at you, Eddie.
Yeah.
He's a rock star, man. He's a rock star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eddie's on top of it.
Well, so their mission is to sustain health and diversity, product, productivity of public lands for use of enjoyment and present for future generations. So yeah, well, that if they're going to preserve the land around you, that would be like a
Bonus.
gem.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to build around you, and you get to enjoy all the woods and stuff. Oh, sign me up. Yeah, I would be all over that. If I found a piece of dirt that's all surrounded by that, I'd be like, thank you.
Yeah. In contrast, if you have like a house you're interested in, but there's like a lot of land behind it, but you don't know who the owner is, or it's owned by a builder or something, like good luck with that.
I knew that, like, as soon as I read that acronym, I knew people were going to do that. I knew it instantaneously. It was going to cause some visceral reaction. I learned something new today. Thank you. Mary, man.
Coming in hot.
Go. Mary, Mary, why you bugging? That's a song, by the way.
It's an MY question again.
Yeah. I'm compelled to disclose that someone died in my house. Oh, am I compelled to disclose if someone died in my house? My old roommate died in her room. Is that a thing? Thanks for either answering to sound my rent out question. I think I should rent it. Okay. So in the state of Louisiana, you are not required to disclose if someone was died in the house. If they were murdered in the house, if there was a mass murder in the house, you would not be required to, because it does not pertain to the structure of the house. The structure of the house has not been, it's not going to fall apart because someone was murdered in it. But in other states like California, what?
Yeah, I think it's a 3-year statute, I believe. Like you have to disclose it, I believe. I think it's 3 years.
Yep. And then like people in South Louisiana, like near New Orleans, they try their darndest to get onto the haunted registry and let people know, like, someone died here, because they want that tour bus to go past their house. They want to collect money, man. They're going to do a tour of their house because they have a haunting. If they have to certify that their house is truly haunted.
Wow, I have not heard that before.
Yeah. Hey, Jason, did you know that I'm on, like, this recording will now be available as a podcast? You can download this podcast through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you can think of to get your podcast needs. All you have to do is
cool.
Yep, Real Estate for Everyone with Kristina Smallhorn. Yep, it's on amazing. All the. Yeah, it's very fun. Yep, and it's been really nice. And if you need a real estate agent, just like Jason Walter, and I do reach out to him if I do have somebody in his area occasionally, all you have to do is go to my website. Just go ahead and hit one of the pink buttons. If you're looking to get a real estate referral, hit the referral button and fill out all the information there. And please put your phone number so I can give you a call. We could talk about your real estate needs. And I can even connect you to someone as cool as Jason Walter right there. Right, Jason?
And chances are probably way cooler.
Way cooler than Jason?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's pretty cool. That means someone can like put in their contact information, actually talk to you on the phone about their real estate needs. It's pretty good.
Absolutely. If they leave their phone number, I will contact them. If they're just asking me a question, though, I'll answer them in an email.
Yeah.
So
that's what I looked like before kids.
Look at Jason, man. Look at all dapper in his suit. That was before you had children, I bet.
No, this is like literally like a photo. The common like real estate picture you took like 10 years ago, whatever.
Oh, okay.
No, this is like, I don't know how long ago. It wasn't 10 years ago, but I need some new photos to say least, especially since I had this beard for about a year now.
Yeah, that doesn't look like you anymore. You look like a fresh faced baby right there. There's Jason with all of his content. You put out videos how many times a week?
Usually about 6 or 7.
Gee whiz!
Yeah. I usually post a video a day-ish. I think I did like 375 videos last year.
Well, apparently Jason's trying to hit the world record of videos about real estate. I'll call Guinness this week. Make sure you get your reward. Yeah. So anyways, yeah, go over to Jason. You want to get the real estate news as it's happening, go right over there. Go say hi to Jason. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and the all, so you get all of his stuff, all his good stuff.
There you go.
Good stuff out there. I appreciate you, Jason. I appreciate you coming out here. I hope you had fun.
I had a ton of fun. I always talk. I love being on your channel. We've done this several times. It's been months since we've done it, and I'm
not from lack of trying.
Yeah, I know. I talked to my wife and said, okay, I want to get on her channel again. When can we make this happen? So we finally made it happen. So I'm honored to be on your channel again. Thanks again.
Oh, I appreciate you finally coming out here. I thought I did something wrong and I wasn't on your special buddy list anymore. You're like, no, I'm not going over there. She's a weirdo.
Not at all. Not at all. I would do this every weekend if I could.
Yeah, look, you already got a new subscriber. Look at your juicy fruit. Thank you so much. All right, everybody. I want to say thank you to the moderators for keeping the chat clean. I appreciate every single one of you. I want to say thank you to our super chatter today with the $100 super chat. That was really nice as well. If you haven't yet, make sure that you hit that like button on the way out. I appreciate everybody giving the little hearts on the live stream. That always helps get the live stream sent out to more people. If you're watching this on the replay and you want to listen to it in your car, make sure you jump over to the podcast and give that a 5-star review. The more 5-star reviews on my podcast, the more it grows. So I appreciate every single one of you, and you have a fantastic week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. So long. Farewell. Just saying goodbye. Oh, look, he's keeping it chill. He's like doing a little West Coast chill right here. Look at that.
The West Coast chill, yeah, right.
Yeah, it's like West Coast chill, right? I feel like
mash the like button.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
I can hear Ice-T, not Ice-T. I'm wrong person. That wrong person, not Ice-T. Ice Cube. Ice-T on the East Coast. Wrong.
Come for real estate, stay for dancing.
Right there. Right there.